All right, how are we doing? Welcome back, my friends. I want to discuss with you guys today um, other pieces of legislation in regards to the housing crisis. So, we've talked about the housing crisis, whether it's affordability, shortage of supply, whatever it might be. We've talked about this subject a number of times in the past on this show. Most recently, when we were talking about legislation that was issued forth by federal lawmakers, we discussed on episode 61 the what was it called? It was called the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act. And at that time, I was not terribly impressed with what I saw in that legislation. I mean, it will provide relief in places, but it looked like a largely inefficient bill. I'm not going to talk about that one too much here. You guys can go back to episode 61 and take a look if you'd like more information. I'll be sure to copy that I'll edit the posts later on and put a link to that video in the comments section or in the post somewhere on. But today, I wanted to talk about a few different pieces of legislation that have been introduced into Congress by certain lawmakers that are designed to help with the housing issues that we have here in the United States. So we'll take a look at them and talk about them and see, will these things be effective at all? The first of the three that I want to discuss today, I actually like the first one. The second one could be cool. The third one, there's some questions, but here's the first one. Let me share my screen here. Is House Bill 1321. Where are we at? Sorry about this, guys. Here we go. All right. This one is called the More Homes on the Market Act, as you can see right here. More Homes on the Market Act. And essentially what it is the lawmakers wanted to increase the exemption on capital gains for people who are selling their primary residence. So it's supposed to incentivize people who are sitting on a lot of equity and maybe considering a move, that don't want to give up any of that equity to the federal government by way of taxes. So as it currently sits, if you're selling your home and you file as a single taxpayer, you can sell your home and earn up to $250,000 in equity without that money being taxed. Anything above that 250, and you get taxed per your tax bracket in capital gains. If you're married filing jointly, that threshold is $500,000. So you sell your home, you and your wife sell your home, you file jointly, you sell it, you earn $490,000 in equity proceeds from that sale. That $490,000 is exempt from capital gains taxation. Any amount above $500,000 would be taxed. So this bill is looking to double that exemption. So if you're single filing if you're filing your taxes as a single taxpayer, if the proceeds, they want to go from $250,000 to $500,000 cap on capital gains. And if you're married filing jointly, they want that threshold to be raised from $500,000 to $1 million. I love it. I would love to see absolutely no capital gains assessed on your property when you sell it. I mean, after all, they already taxed the snot out of your income that you used to buy that house once upon a time. And then they're going to tax you again on the equity that you earned by living in that house, improving that house, staying in that house, the appreciation of the market. They're double taxing it, in my opinion. So I'd love to see it go away, but if they want to double the thresholds, that's fantastic. And they should. I mean, the initial IRS provisions were drafted in 1986 in regards to these capital gains thresholds. I would say things cost a little bit more, right? The inflation has gone up tremendously since 1986, which is another way of saying that the purchasing power of your dollar has decreased exponentially since 1986. So this one, I would love to see them send it all through Congress, eventually to Trump's office, where he could sign off on this and increase these capital gains thresholds. A side note, real quick, guys. Something that's really frustrating to me. This is it's gone through the House, been introduced to the Senate. This thing was first proposed in March of 2023, and it is almost March of 2025, and it's gotten nowhere. When is this stuff going to happen? What are they doing? The next one that I want to talk to you about is Senate Bill 1688, introduced to the Senate in May of 2023, still languishing, doing nothing. This is called the Yes in My Backyard Act. And this is one where, this is a very generic, or I should say introductory sort of bill where there's not a whole lot of detail. Essentially, they want to create a review committee for any community who is looking to receive community development block grant funding for their community. So some of the things that CDBG grants go towards is the renovation of homes, whether it's small renovations such as electrical upgrades or sewer upgrades, or major renovations, electrical upgrades, along with a roof replacement, along with a full lead-based paint remediation. Oftentimes, these can be used for both homeowners in single-family homes as well as landlords can be opened up to these. Sometimes they can be opened up for businesses when they're trying to renovate, the facade of a downtown area. Great program. I've had clients who have been the beneficiaries of this program. I like to, whenever I know news about CDBG grants that are coming up in Lorain County, I try to put some news out there that people could take advantage of it. They're great programs. What these folks want to do with this bill is create a review board. So communities who are applying through their county, through their state, and then eventually through the federal government for these grant funds, they need to then submit a plan to the state review board that shows how they intend to address housing needs by way of deregulating zoning restrictions in their community. So if there are large blocks of single-family zoned areas in the community, this review board wants to see these communities, rezone them to where they will allow more multifamily homes in there so that landlords can convert large single families into doubles or triples. This is going to provide more housing opportunities for more renters, or maybe even converting industrial areas to mixed use, or maybe blighted industrial areas to multifamily, so that those buildings could be knocked down. CDBG funds could then go towards construction of new multifamily housing, things like that. So great idea. There's a lot of detail that needs to be filled out for this thing to actually work. It creates a little more bureaucracy, which I'm never a fan of, but it's not a bad idea, because deregulating zoning laws to create more housing is not a bad thing. The final bill that I wanted to show you guys, to show you these different federal initiatives about how we can address the housing problem, is Senate Bill 4693. Senate Bill 4693, introduced just last July. This one is called the Revitalizing Downtowns and Main Streets Act. And this one, kind of up in the air about how I feel about this one. I think it could be definitely beneficial. I just don't know how effective it could be. So the Revitalizing Downtowns and Main Streets Act, this is basically a 20 to 35% tax credit for the conversion of non-residential buildings to multifamily affordable housing. So basically, the bill would allocate $12 billion to be spread out through states, $3 billion cap per state. There's an emphasis on population as well as median incomes, which for Ohio, right, where I'm sitting here in Lorain County, Ohio, this is a good thing, because Ohio is the seventh most populous state in the union, and it is the ninth. It ranks the ninth lowest median income in the union. So Ohio, specifically its metropolitan areas of Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton, Toledo, right, should be in the market for some of this allocation of the $3 billion per state. So that could help. The problem that I see with some of these things are, well, once upon a time, it might have been, ESG or green building requirements, which would have made construction extremely expensive. Of course, I'd love to see a focus on sustainability, but some of those things were incredibly difficult to achieve. The other problems might be, you're talking about converting an abandoned office or a portion of an abandoned office building or industrial building into multifamily housing. And the issue there is those buildings were not intended to be multifamily. They were built to be offices. And why that matters is they were not plumbed and electrical was not run to create a multifamily building. You would have to rerun a lot of plumbing, a lot of electric. This is an expensive endeavor, especially when you consider, a lot of these, especially these larger buildings, the floors are concrete. That's a lot of busting up, a lot of time and money spent at union wages to convert these things. And the tax benefits are like, again, 20 to 35%. So the cost that it would incur to convert an old warehouse or, some industrial site, consider an industrial site. You want to convert that to multifamily. How much money would need to be spent to EPA testing, and then if some sort of contamination were found on site, to remediate that contamination and make things work out? I mean, these are gigantic endeavors that they're only going to benefit, the largest of companies, the largest of contractors and construction companies are going to be the only ones who could handle it. Very similar to the what was that called again? The Neighborhood Homes Investment Act. It's, you're only going to get the largest of companies who are going to be able to really execute on this. And then, who's going to own and operate them? Because another thing that's a requirement of this bill are rent caps, so you're only going to be allowed to charge so much in rent. So what kind of housing will it be turned into? Yeah, multifamily, but it's not going to be turned into Class A. It's going to be affordable housing. And then who's going to own and operate that property once the conversion has been completed? Because if you're having rent caps, you're probably pushing a lot of private investments and investors out of the marketplace to own and operate. If you're not going to be allowed to increase rents along with the inflation of everything else in the world, who's going to own and operate it? It's going to have to be a nonprofit like a Metropolitan Housing Authority or some other nonprofit that's not focused on being able to survive and be profitable. Profit's not a bad thing, folks. Let's look at Metropolitan Housing Authority properties, certainly across the region, the state, the country. When they are subsidized housing, those are not the most beautiful of places. We call them projects. Oftentimes they turn into slums. They're usually neglected properties because it costs too much. They're poorly run. And when the cost of building materials and management goes up, these things take a long time to fix, to renovate. They turn into poor neighborhoods, very, very poor neighborhoods. So big questions. I like a couple of these. Again, House Bill 1321, the More Homes on the Market Act. They want to increase the capital gains threshold for the sale of primary residences. I'm all for that. Let's get that thing signed into law tomorrow, please. The Yes in My Backyard Act, where they review local housing regulations and make sure that communities who want these grant funds deregulate a little bit and make multifamily housing more of a thing throughout their city. And then finally, we talked about the Revitalizing Downtowns and Main Streets Act, which would create a 20 to 35% tax credit for the conversion of multifamily into the conversion of non-residential into multifamily. A fantastic idea on paper. I think it's going to be terribly difficult to execute. All right, guys, let's get into the statistics for last week's sales here in Lorain County. All right, so we're looking at here, episode 79, only 379 single families and condos on the market this morning in Lorain County. You can see that that is pretty low. We haven't seen a number this low since, well, we got to go back to August of last year when we were in the height of selling season. So 379 properties for sale in Lorain County this morning. There were 47 closings last week. The median square feet of those homes sold last week was 1,556 square feet. Median sale price was $230,000. The median square foot price was $168.91. You know, we had been floating here. We saw this average 6 weeks ago at 159. Prices had sort of stabilized there in Q4 24. But we've seen now this big jump in median square foot value 2 out of the last 6 weeks. Are we appreciating again? I don't know. Let's see what happens as we move into Q2 2025, which is the start of the selling season here in Northeast Ohio. Are we going to see homes appreciate again? I know we talked about some stats and what some of the gurus are saying they expect to see. They expect to see more price appreciation through the rest of the year. The median days on market was 29. That's the lowest we've seen here in a month. And the conventional notes opened up at 7% for a 30-year mortgage. The big sale of the week was $650,000 in North Ridgeville, Ohio. And I do want to show pictures of this time because this is not the typical home that we have seen for sale or sold and end up in the top. So let's take a look at here. Let's share this. This is a ranch on a slab, and this is a mighty, mighty monster ramp in the Ridgefield development there on the south end of North Ridgeville. This is 3,800 square feet of ranch, again, on a slab, no basement. So what's going on in this monster ranch here that demands a $650,000 price point? Let's take a look. Decent sized lot, a little over 0.3 acres. We get in here in the front room. We got wallpaper, baby. We got wallpaper. It's in. Some people like it. You know, nice, big, wide open concept. You know, kind of a smaller kitchen, I think, for an open concept. There's not a whole lot of cabinet space. A decent amount of counter space. You got the wall separating. You got the little wall separating the kitchen from the living room here. They got a theater. Got to have a theater if you want $650,000 on your slab, on your ranch with no basement, right? So they have a theater room in there. Some more wallpaper. I kind of like it, though. Bedrooms, yes, yes. I think where it really gets special, though, again, we have 3,800 square feet of space, a ton of wallpaper. But where it really gets special is when you step outside. So, you know, a lot of beautiful finishing touches. I'm not just talking about the wallpaper, but you got stone counters all over the place, beautiful cabinets, you know, beautiful, gorgeous bathroom, nice big closets, 5 bedrooms, large area here, right? But when you get outside, this paver patio with the pergola above it is absolutely gorgeous, right? So beautiful summertime living here in Northeast Ohio. You know, the garden out back, it's fantastic. So a big, beautiful 3,800 square foot ranch in North Ridgeville was our big sale of the week at $650,000. Apologize for stumbling over my words so much. I don't know why I'm rushing through this thing. I know I got appointments upcoming here today, but we did this thing right within 20 minutes, which is my goal. And as always, I ask if you guys like what you see here, share it with friends and family. I endeavor to bring some good content to pull back the curtain on the real estate industry here, not just in Northeast Ohio, but basically what's going on throughout the country. Again, if you like it, share it. And as always, take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. I love you, people. I'll see you next week.